Hello, I am Kiara Bowden, and this is my mom, Heather Christensen.
Uh-huh.
We are turning it up, a mom and daughter team that has dedicated our lives to helping people to heal in many ways and live the best lives they possibly can. So, this week is a very fun topic. We are going to be talking about epigenetics. If you've never heard the word before, don't worry, we'll go over it. So, we actually were triggered to do this topic because of a short that we had made about inherited trapped emotions, in other words, generational curses. And someone had commented on the video and said, "Oh, you're just talking about genetics. It's called genetics, and we've known this for a really long time. You're just confusing people." And as we sat and thought about this, we were like, uh, generational curses aren't just genetics. They're epigenetics. They're things that we can change and have control over. So we're going to talk about that today and address it for those who we may have confused with our video.
Well, and another thing that we need to keep in mind is our clients do say, oh, yeah, that is a generational curse. They say that to us. It's not like this is a new term.
No.
And so, yeah, it's a real thing that people are concerned about. So I think that genetics and epigenetics is a great way to tackle this whole issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are afraid all the time of actually inheriting behaviors from their family. People talk to me about that all the time too. They're like, oh no, I got that from my dad. Or, oh no, I'm so scared I'm going to pass this to my baby and my kids. And really, we don't need to be so worried about that because we have the tools to change. And it's not something that they inherited that is going to be stuck with them forever.
Right. Well, it's kind of cool though, too, because I mean, we come to this life, right, with it's like, okay, I'm going to give this analogy of going through the school lunch line. You know how you go through the school lunch line and you go to one lady and she slops something on there, and the next lady slops something on there, and the next lady
You
slops.
have to say the word slop.
Okay, well, maybe they put it on and put it on. Sometimes when I went through, it was slop, slop, slop.
I think we've all experienced that, those of us who attended public school.
But anyway, we go through the lunch line and we have our tray in front of us. And it wasn't like we chose what we wanted, right? They just had the lunch menu for the day and we got what we were given. And the thing is that's kind of like this life, only we didn't all go through the same lunch line.
No,
Some of
maybe.
us got okra. Some of us got a hamburger and fries and shake. Others got chocolate pudding. Others may have gotten mashed potatoes and turkey and gravy and pumpkin pie, you know. But the nice thing about it is we have our agency. So what determines the plate that you get in the first place, though? We believe that it's based upon what you needed in this life to push you to your limits, to test you, to allow you to make choices, to create good or evil in life, to eventually determine what you become here. We believe your spirit wants you to become who it knows you can be. And so these circumstances and everything that you were given was determined by your spirit in conjunction with God. I think that this was a meeting that we held and we were present at. Did we know exactly how it was going to turn out? More than likely not. But we've been given certain things. And our spirit knows what it needs to be able to progress. But the father of our spirit really knows, and so he was right there with us in this. And we believe that you're an eternal being and this life isn't the end. So what you do with this life can help you progress to a much better life. And the cool thing is that when we live life, we can take the plate we've been given, like I said, and we can go sit down at a buffet table where we can choose to either supplement. Like if I got potatoes and there's gravy on the table, then I can go ahead and pour the gravy on. We can alter what we've been given or just sit down and look at all the good stuff in front of us and choose not to partake because
Or
we
just
don't
sit
feel.
and look at somebody else's plate and be jealous the whole time.
I love that one. Well, we can choose not to partake because we don't think we're worthy of it either, or it's just too much effort. to go get the pecan pie on the other side of the table, or the strawberries at the long end of the table because we're afraid of Bruno who's sitting next to them.
No, that was random. So I guess that takes us to the definition and like difference between genetics and epigenetics. Obviously, there are things that we can change versus things that we can't change. And that's where epigenetics really comes into play. So genetics is stuff that you can't change. It's DNA that you got from your parents, which is like your slender fingers or your large wide feet or the shape of your nose, your hair color. And those things are obviously hard to change unless it's like through surgery or dyeing your hair or whatever. But epigenetics is epi actually means above. And so this is like above or outside of genetics. Just like in the word epidermis, which is your skin, it's like the skin's outer layer. So epigenetics is anything outside of genetics, like I just said. So this means that how our cells respond and develop actually goes beyond genetics and has a lot of things to do with nutrition, the environment, stress levels, and other stuff that's outside of our DNA that we were given from our parents.
I love this because it goes back to we aren't victims in this life. I really like that a lot. So many studies have been proving that nutrition and diet has a lot of influence upon whether a person actually gets a disease or not. So for instance, in studies with mice who are prone to disease, they were able to take that take those mice and give them proper diet that was able to reverse the disease. And so it's been said that I've heard both numbers. 95% of diseases are actually not DNA driven, but I've actually heard Bruce Lipton say in the
Like
last
90, it's like less than 1% is I
yeah,
think what he says are hereditary.
yeah, yeah. So pretty cool that we actually have some control in our lives. I came across this statement in an article written in the National Library of Medicine. I'm going to read it slowly so that because it's kind of a lot to digest. The membrane of every cell plays a vital role in deciding the type of input that goes into the cell. So the outer layer, the membrane of the cell, decides what goes into the cell. So there are two types of proteins in the cell membrane, the sensor and the effector proteins. As the name implies, the sensor, similar to sensory organs, responds to many extracellular signals. So outside of the cell, that may be biochemical, vibratory, or electromagnetic. We're going to, Kiara and I are going to, expound on those?
Break them down.
Yeah, break them down. And she says, hence the cellular response and hence the entire body response may be based on non-physical inputs such as mechanical movements, and she has in parentheses, read yoga practices, and even thought and deliberation. And I would say meditation with that intention. So thus, in contrast to conventional wisdom, genes do not control their own activity. The proteins at the membrane or the outer edge of that cell control the way the gene reads the signals. Thus, like the human or the brain in a human, the control for many environmental inputs are through the membrane, and the environment plays a very significant part in the behavior of a cell and hence the entire program or our entire body. What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, the entire organism as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said program.
Oh, I'm into programming the brain.
Oh.
I love in that article that the sensor protein responds to many extracellular or the outer signals that may be those three that we were talking about. So let's start with electromagnetic. Thank you. So some examples of electromagnetic are from long to short wavelength. The EM spectrum includes radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet rays, X-rays, and gamma rays. So, and I was like, well, what does that include in our life? And Kiara and I, we actually use the red and near infrared lights to boost our immune systems. What else does it help with, Kiara?
It helps with skin, hair growth, and it stimulates cell regrowth. And so it can also help with like your organs and nervous systems, your blood flow, stuff like that.
So that is an example of the environment affecting the cell, what goes inside the cell.
Yeah. And then the next one I think on that list was vibratory. So that can mean a lot of different things. It can mean things that we think of that vibrate, like cell phones and guitar strings or like piano strings, or the vibration of our vocal cords in our throat. Clapping, like I feel like you can feel the vibration that happens when somebody claps or stomps because you hear it and also just feel it. Um, or like when someone slams a door closed. You can just, whether it's just because of the intention that the door was slammed or not, you can feel the impact that it makes. Um, an
I was
example,
also thinking when you said door slammed, I was thinking when a door slams like that and scares me to death, my whole body reacts because it's like I'm suddenly in fight or flight and I feel this shock all the way through my body. And that shock part is something to remember as we continue
yeah,
on with this.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Um, a quote from Psychology Today, they say that sound works through the vibrational tactile effects on the whole body. Sound could stimulate touch fibers that affect pain perception. One study of people with fibromyalgia found that 10 treatments twice per week for 5 weeks of low frequency sound stimulation, so they were listening to sounds, that improved their sleep and decreased their pain, allowing nearly 3/4 of participants to reduce pain medication.
So
So
cool.
so literally just by the sound waves from the sound that they were listening to, that was able, their cells in their body were able to react to that, and it was able to bring their body in more harmony and to take some of that pain away from them. It's really cool. Another way that obvious way, if you've been watching our videos, that we use sound is through meditation, because the earth and our bodies, our vibration, our like harmony vibration is 432 hertz. And so a lot of times meditation music will be at 432 hertz. That's the type of meditations used to like realign the vibrations in your body, help you really calm down. There's other frequencies that we use too for other stuff as
I
well.
love the 528 hertz because it's about optimism and joy and
It's
really,
done.
yeah, right, or putting you into just a very positive way. And I think that all of these that put you in a positive frequency, they're really great ways to help heal the body, put it in a way of healing.
Yeah, well, they have done so many studies of grounding. That's become really popular in the past couple of years. And it's because the earth vibrates, like I said, at 432 hertz, the same that our body does. And so just by us stepping on the earth, it helps realign our body back into like that peaceful vibration. And it has shown to heal people's bodies that have chronic pain and stuff like that.
Another thing that I do to ground, and it's with the Qigong that we had talked about in other videos, is you put your feet shoulder width apart and you just kind of bounce. And that helps you align with the earth's frequencies. So that actually aligns all of your cells in your body and it calms your brain down. I do it a lot after my sessions because Kiara and I get wiped out after our sessions. We
Yeah.
aren't in it for to be all charged after we get done. We've been like
Like you're hit by a bus.
so many times it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely need a recharge after those. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to use vibrations and sound. And they've even shown like harmful vibrations, like through our cell phones and through computers, stuff like that too, that have had negative effects on the body.
Yeah, and you think of the electrical lines that go overhead a lot of
Mhm.
times. Is another thing.
Yeah.
So The third thing that we wanted to talk about, were you finished with the vibrational? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off if you
Yeah,
were.
no, I don't think so. I think I was.
Okay. So the third thing is biochemical, and I think Kiara and I really get excited about this because it deals with our thoughts and our emotions. And it's actually what we deal with on a day-to-day basis as we are releasing people's trapped emotions and then training them how they can actually have agency. They have the agency to choose their thoughts and reprogram that program that's going on that we've talked about so many times.
And just to release the harmful vibrations that have been stuck in the body,
Oh,
and
yeah,
just to help them get into that higher frequency, it makes such a big difference.
it
Um,
really does.
yeah.
Well, it impacts. I love that you brought that up. And maybe you can expound on it a little bit. Um, I was just thinking how just having those negative vibrations in the body definitely impacts how you are currently thinking when you say,
Yeah, for sure. And not only that, but it affects the physical function of your body as well. Bruce Lipton talks about, he always talks about fear or protection mode versus love mode. And
yeah,
so we're talking about how like cells respond to activity outside of them. And he talks about how, okay, well, your cells are inside of your body. So how are they reacting to the environment around you? Because Bruce Lipton, he is an epigenetic, he's an
epigeneticist.
epigeneticist. And he's actually like the father of this. He is really the one who discovered it. And so his theory that has been proven many times is that cells will change depending on the environment that you put them in. And he says people get confused all the time because your cells are inside of your body. So how are they changing, or how do they know to change depending on what environment you are in? And it goes back to the biochemical, um, what do you call them? Biochemical wavelengths,
Well,
vibrations.
the biochemical influences. Yeah.
Yes, biochemical influences. Thank you. Because your mind, depending on how your mind perceives your environment, is the biochemical reaction that your cells actually react to. So if there is something going on around you, like he always talks about being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you are obviously scared and you go into that fight or flight mode, and all of your blood vessels like shut down in your gut and go straight to your arms and legs so that you have the energy to run away from that saber-toothed tiger. The problem is that when your gut and all like the middle parts of your body are shut off from that, that's when your body gets really stressed out. And that's where your body gets its like intelligence from, and its healing from, its immunity from. And so if we're
Is the
always,
central part, the
yeah,
central part of the
yeah,
body.
he always says gut, but yes, your central part. Um, if you're always in that stress state, then that's where your body starts becoming really prone to disease and poor immunity, stuff like that, because your cells are always in that stress mode. You're always perceiving that something is in a negative environment. But if you're in the love state, if you are reacting to situations with love and compassion and gratefulness, then you are always open. He calls it like the growth state also. Love means growth. And so you are therefore able to accept and grow new experiences, and your cells will grow in a healthy manner
Yeah.
because yeah. He calls it the
Because you're in
honeymoon.
a,
What?
well, yeah, you're in a calmer state. And so your body has the opportunity to invest into the health of the body. So
Mhm.
like you were saying, he was saying when you're being chased by that saber-toothed tiger and you're in that fight or flight, your body's going, well, I'm not going to take the time to invest into my immune system. But how long are you being chased by a saber-toothed tiger?
Like 10 minutes, and then you are allowed to go back to your calm state because you're safe.
Right.
But right now, we're always in environments of stress because of hello, technology, and just the type of culture and world that we live in. We're always go, 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 do, work, work, work. And
Yeah.
our bodies, unless we consciously make a decision to go out of that mode, we're always in a state that is going to affect the health of our body in a negative.
Yeah. We are telling our clients all the time, don't watch the hour of news.
I have to
Half
tell
of
my
it's
husband
just got
that.
an agenda anyway to get you riled up.
Yes. Yeah. And it's
No,
making me
95% of it. Sorry.
yeah. No, well, he also talks about like, the love state that I was talking about. He calls it the honeymoon phase because he's like, ask any couple about a time that they were madly in love and how did they feel? They felt amazing. They were glowing. They thought everything was perfect and honky-dory and just great. And he says it's because you were in love. And when you're in love, you're consciously thinking all the time. You're very like conscious and aware of what is going on. Like if you're have a new relationship, you're really thinking about, okay, what do I wear today? Like you're not just using your subconscious programming, which by the way has been proven that it's like over 70% negative programming. You are consciously making decisions and that helps you grow.
Yeah, so otherwise, you're functioning in the programming part of your mind. If you are just not thinking, you're functioning, or when you are thinking, when you're finally thinking, your programming starts coming out, right? Isn't that what he says?
Yeah.
So it is interesting, very interesting. But we didn't define biochemical very well, but you gave some really perfect
I
examples.
got too excited.
Well, I know I was glad that you did it because I think it leads it in beautifully to what biochemical is. So let me define that now. I got this, I think the experience of life, I got it from this website, and I think that they go into it and define it, the scientific processes really well. So biochemical is basically your brain helping your body to decide whether it's a negative experience or a positive experience. It's basically what Kiara was talking about. Like when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or a saber-toothed tiger, you are saying, "Ah, I'm going to die." And so you're in fight or flight. So it's that process right there. So they said that when we first go into an emotional event or emotionally charged memory, so that emotional event may put us into fight or flight, which it usually does. Our brain filters that information and then makes associations from past experiences. Oh, that tiger got me before and it hurt. And then it spurs a domino effect to release peptides and hormones, or what they call ligands and receptors. Those ligands and receptors start rushing around to thousands of receptor cells in our body. So it's like this. And that's, I think, where that door slam comes in, just to give you a good example of how you feel when your body goes into that, because it just goes.
Yeah.
So Candace Part, PhD, they quoted her as saying in her book of Molecules of Emotion, The Science Behind Body-Mind Medicine. She's also a molecular biologist and psychoneuroimmunologist.
Wow. I want to be that.
A psychoneuroimmunologist. Can you imagine telling people what you are?
That's so cool.
He says the receptor, having received a message, transmits it from the surface of the cell. So we talked about that membrane of the cell deep into the cell's interior, where the message can change the state of the cell dramatically. So those ligands and those peptides got to the cell membrane and they have a message. And so once they got to the cell membrane, it opened it up and they went down inside. And then a chain reaction of biochemical events is initiated as tiny machines roar into action and, directed by the message of the ligand, begin any number of activities: manufacturing new proteins, making decisions about cell division, opening or closing ion channels, adding or subtracting energetic chemical groups such as the phosphates, just to name a few. In short, the life of the cell, what it is up to at any moment, is determined by which receptors are on its surface and whether those receptors are occupied by ligands or not. And then she says, on a more global scale, these minute physiological phenomena at the cellular level can translate to large changes in behavior, physical activity, and even mood. And the article goes on to say that This process can impact everything in your body: digestion, metabolism, vulnerability to cold viruses, just to name a few. And that's where you, Kiara, were giving really good examples about how when you go into fight or flight, your central shuts down and the blood flow goes out to your limbs. But it's your thoughts that start it all in the first place.
I think it's important to realize what that quote really made me realize is that no matter what we are doing, our body is always doing something. It's always creating. And so if you aren't conscious about what it's creating or what you're perceiving, because that's how your body creates is by your perception, then it's going to do kind of just whatever you're mindlessly doing. If you're thinking, man, I feel like crap today, I feel like I look ugly today, then what do you think your body is creating at that moment? Do you think your body feels good either? I don't think so. But if you're like, wow, I'm having a great day, I love life, then you're creating health in your body and growth.
Yeah. And we're also, I mean, this also goes back to what we're vibrating, right? Because when we are creating that inside of our body, our thoughts, our emotions are vibrating, which then impacts other people around us, which then impacts yada, yada, yada. It's a domino effect. So it's that vibrational domino effect. So what I find is interesting, it just hit me just now, Kiara, is that, I mean, no, I thought about this several times, but as we're talking about this, we have that domino effect from our thoughts inside of us, but we have how similar it is to our external environment. So that's another law, is that our internal environment reflects our external environment.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of profound.
Yeah. One of a leader that I had a while ago, he would always, if you'd ask him how he's doing, he'd always go, I'm happy, even though you could tell that things weren't always happy in his life. And I asked him why he always said he's happy. And he said, well, if I was happy dependent on what was happening around me, then I'd never be happy. So I just feel like that's a perfect example of how everything is neutral until we give it meaning. But I think this also goes back into the inherited emotions and that quote that you read, because your body is reacting to the way um, it remembers how you reacted before in a different situation. Did that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does, because it's making associations
Yeah.
based on the information that you're taking in. It's making association and filtering and going, oh, that means it's bad.
Yeah. So if you have a trapped emotion inside of you with the similar feeling that is happening presently, then that is part of your programming and your body is going to react negatively to it, whether you like it or not, because those vibrations are trapped in there. And so that's why it's so important to get rid of those trapped emotions so that you actually have a fighting chance at reprogramming your body and having a better time at creating the present and the future that you really want.
Yeah. And putting in that work is really critical. He talks about, Bruce Lipton, he talks about 3 ways to reprogram, and he talks about e-psychology. For us, the emotion code is that e-psychology.
Mhm.
It just takes those emotions and gets them out. It's fast, it's effective, and then you can work on the reprogramming part of it with meditating, taking your mind down into that state of theta and alpha, and then those positive affirmations and repetition, repetition, repetition. So it's a process, but we can do it. We have the agency to choose what we want to do. I have met some people who are addicted to drama and just like living in that. And so that's not going to be for them.
I think
But
I think people like that. It's comfortable for them because that's all they know.
it's the programming.
Yeah. And so I don't know how much of it is their fault, at the beginning, but then there is a point where they consciously are deciding to stay there. So yeah, I have had friends like
And
that.
the great thing is we can choose. We were given agency. We can choose what to do with what is around us and the wonderful plate of food that we've been given, full circle
Yes.
back to the beginning. All right. I think we have hit it.
Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.